Nausea. You know what nausea is? That's when you're like, is it going to come up or is it going to go out? It can affect children, it can affect adults, and it's extraordinarily unpleasant. Did you know that your brain, this part of your brain that's keeping track of stress and threat, when it's overwhelmed, two of the most common indicators or symptoms, pain and nausea. And when that hits, it's just not fun. It might be after you eat a meal that just sets like a brick and that nausea overcomes you. It might be when you're in a car. It might be when you're on a hike. You might be on a ship. You might be having morning sickness. You might be climbing. Any of those where there's motion involved can create nausea. Now, I had that happen to me a few months ago. I was doing a hanging exercise and overextended and pulled something. And anyway, it wasn't very pleasant. And I started having nausea every time I'd work out, go for a walk, rebound, and then I'd have to go lay down. I'd be out of commission for 2 or 3 hours. And that's not very productive when you're working with clients and you're doing all kinds of things with social media. Because as a naturopath, I have worked with tens of thousands of clients. I have helped people either through online consultations, through in-office, all kinds of ways. Having my brain working at its best, peak performance day in and day out, is a requirement for all that I do. So when I crash, it impacts other people. I discovered something that surprised me. It could make this big of a difference. About 2 years ago, somebody introduced us to these little patches called Super Patch. I thought they were hokey. They sat on our shelf for about 14 months. And then I had an epiphany from a surgeon of how these super patches use technology based on a little patch that goes on your skin, sending signals through the skin, through the nervous system, to the brain, a specific site, like a QR code. So this particular patch that I played with, the Assure, is for nausea. So when I applied this patch to my skin, it didn't go to the brain pathway that works on pain. No, it went right to the one for nausea. And as soon as I put it on, within about 5 minutes, nausea was gone. Then I was talking to a friend, a chiropractor, and she'd had a meal that set really heavy. Went out for an evening of dancing, came back, was standing in the shower and going, it's either up or it's down. What am I going to do? She happened to remember that we'd given her a couple of patches to try of the Assure. So she put it on, about 15, 20 minutes. Nausea was gone. Do you know how huge that is? When you suffer from nausea or sensory overload or any of the things that can trigger that uncomfortable feeling, it's not fun. And who wants to take extra medications or extra things that might have side effects that you don't want to put into your body? So I'm going to encourage you to give this a try and think of the different people in your life as well as you. Children who can have nausea. Morning sickness. Anytime you're traveling, wouldn't it make sense to just throw a few patches into your suitcase so you don't have to miss out on the fun of a trip? I am thrilled because as I've done research, and we have done about 10 years of deep diving into neurology, one of the things I have found is that nausea is very connected to ear and vestibular issues. Things like ringing in the ear, things like loss of hearing. I've dealt with all of those. And one of the things I found absolutely amazing is in going into restaurants for about the last 3 years because of wearing hearing aids, sensory overload became a huge issue. Restaurants couldn't do it. If I did, I'd be out for hours or days because it just shut me down. Being in church, worship music, sensory overload would shut me down. So I thought, I haven't had any nausea or sensory overload with exercise. So today I did something and I went to a restaurant. Some of you are like, well, that's not a big deal. Well, it's a restaurant that I went to about 2 or 3 years ago. Totally shut me down. I had to leave within less than 5 minutes after placing the order and and leaving with the order. Today I went with Forrest, enjoyed the meal, went and ran errands, came back and did computer work, and I'm shooting this video right now. No sensory overload, no nausea, no shutdown. What am I doing? I'm assured of getting results. So it's time for you to go play, notice, and discover. Get back to the person who recommended this video or check out the information in the description. It's time for you to work with your brain, and your brain will bless you in ways you didn't know was possible.